Last week I outlined the new reforms that our Labour government would introduce, the new wave of welfare reform. And this is an important debate because for many years we've ignored issues of welfare reform in this country. We've been reluctant to grapple with these very difficult and understandably sensitive questions. But at the moment, if you are out of work for reasons of sickness, you are completely ignored and completely written off by the system. You're getting no support whatsoever. In fact, it's only 1 in 10 out of work disabled people or older workers who get any support from the welfare system. That cannot possibly be right, because I've always believed that being in work is good for you as an individual, it's good for society, and it's good for the economy as well. So I would like to work in partnership with all of you here today and people more widely in your network on these issues, because at the moment what happens is the Department of Work and Pensions will put out a contract to national or tender for a national contract for these various work schemes which go up to this 20 billion roughly a year that they are spending. And the various big outsourcing firms, all the famous names which you'll all be familiar with, will win these contracts. And what will happen is, in a local area, a local regional area, this one-size-fits-all contract will be imposed on a local area. And if you are unemployed for a particular amount of time, long-term unemployed, or signing on for universal credit, you'll be sent to the schemes that these national contracts provide, regardless and irrelevant to the needs of local employers and local communities. So one of the proposals that we have put forward, that instead of this national contracting, that instead we wanted to shift power and resources out of Whitehall to local areas and ask local areas to design and shape the employment support provision that is needed in partnership with the voluntary sector and the private sector. So in partnership with employers, we'll shape that employment support in a local area. So if you're a local area such as mine in Leicester, where we have a strong base in food manufacturing and textiles, but we also have an emerging base in space science. Not everybody realises this, but we are the centre for the UK for space. We have the National Space Agency, so that we have a space park and so on. There are lots of exciting opportunities opening up in Leicester around the future of space. Did you know, in fact, that a piece of equipment designed in Leicester has been in space every year since I think 1969. Would you believe? So, but the point is this: local areas have different strengths. They have different business communities. They have different links with the higher education sector. So it should be local areas who should design the local employment support which fits the needs of their local economies. So the first thing we would do is that we would shift power and resources out of Whitehall to local areas, so they should design this support. So no longer the DWP just putting out a national contract and tendering with the big traditional outsourcing firms. Apologies if there's any representatives of the outsourcing firms here this evening. I'm not having a dig at you, because it may well be in a local area that you have an arrangement with the local leadership, and But the point is, it should be for local areas to design these local employment services. But we've also got to look at the disincentives within the social security system itself as well. Because the way in which our social security system now works, our universal credit system and so on, for too many people, it disincentivises taking the journey from benefits and into work. So if you're out of work for reasons of long-term sickness or disability, you've probably been through something called the work capability assessment. It's a very arduous, horrible process, and we want to reform that assessment anyway. But for many people, if they do move into work and it doesn't work out, because we have to be honest, work isn't going to work out for everybody, because people are scared about even trying out work, because if they try out work, they'll have to go through this horrible assessment process again. So what we've said is there should be a bridge back to give people that reassurance that moving into work is not a risk. So we want to de-risk that journey to deal with the disincentives in the social security system. There are other disincentives in the social security system that we want to confront as well. So these are the reforms that we are going to introduce. And for people who are long-term sick and disabled who do move into work, we want to fix something called the Access to Work scheme, which is the support that you may get to help you into work. I mean, I had a constituent with a disability who wanted to move into work, was offered a job, and was told there was a 26-week wait. The Access to Work scheme, which gives people extra support so they can move into work. How are we expecting to get people into work who want to work when they're told they have to wait 26 weeks to get that level of support? So we will fix that as well. So we are very, very keen to work with you as a business community to explore with you what is the type of employment provision that you think should be in place in your local areas to support the businesses that you're all associated with, and to talk more in detail about how we get people back to work. Because if we don't do this, if we do not increase the numbers of people in work, not only is that bad for those as individuals, in my view, we will not grow the economy, we will not create the more productive economy that we want and need in order to have more money to spend as a government, obviously, but for every household to be more prosperous. If we can reach the highest employment rate in the G7, which is our ambition, that will mean over 1 million extra people in work. It will mean every household budget, living standards increase, every household will be better off, and it quite obviously will have an impact on the public finances as well. But we can only meet these ambitions if we're doing it in partnership with the business, with small businesses and the business community. So I'm really pleased to be here, and I hope we can talk in more detail, perhaps not in the meeting, although I'm happy to take some questions, but perhaps we can talk in more detail about these issues in the future as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John.